If you guys are looking for a brand new deck box, Imperium Duelist just released a brand new Fighter Edition deck box. They're doing a limited run, so if you want to grab one, make sure you do it sooner than later. It comes with a dice tray and plenty of space for sleeved cards. They did a dark deck box in the past, so now they're doing fire, and they'll probably do other attributes in the future. And of course, if you guys haven't picked up my playmat yet, Blazing Permafrost, there are still, I believe, 40 or so left on their site, and once they're gone, they're gone. So if you want to get one, go ahead and grab it now. Link to their site down below, as well as a discount code that you guys can use to save 10% off your entire order. How's it going, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new test hand video for Earth Machines. A lot of you guys have been asking for some test hand videos slash combo tutorials. So I figured I'd go ahead and do that sort of all in one video, and you'll see what I mean when we get into it. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this, and hopefully you learned something from this video as well. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments. And I also want to preface real quick, this build is slightly different than the profile I made a couple days ago. You'll see that once we get into the video as well. Also, before we get into it, real quick, I want to mention if you guys are buying anything on TCGplayer or DrawPhase.com, please do not forget to use the affiliate link I have to both their sites down in the description below, because if you guys shop and check out using those links, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase will go right back into the channel, and it helps out greatly. Lastly, consider becoming a member of the channel today to get access to exclusive members-only content, early videos and deck profiles, etc. by clicking that blue join button down below or at the link in the description. So without further ado, let's get into these test hands. Alright, so let's go ahead and just shuffle the deck here before we go into our first test hand here. These videos, if I haven't mentioned already, I'm going to be doing a little differently. If we don't just stumble across the combos naturally, I will dedicate a spot at the end of this video to show you guys some of the combos that I wanted to show. But yeah, we're going to do some going first test hands as per usual. We could even do maybe a going second one, but I think just going first will be easier for the sake of this deck. We open Metal Cruncher, Ash Blossom, Super Express Bullet Train, and Daracrane, and our fifth and final card is a copy of Harvester. So this hand is looking not too bad. Now we have two options here. We could either start with Cruncher or Harvester. Only the 2 level 10s is insane. Also, by the way, for this build, I am playing it slightly different than the deck profile I posted a few days ago. The changes being I've dropped Trap Trick, added an Urgent Schedule, and a copy of Scrap Recycler. And I'm also trying the 1 Daracrane right now. I still like 2 Daracrane, but I'm just trying it in place of other things for the time being. So, extra deck is exactly the same, though. But we can start with either Harvester or Cruncher. Now, I'm probably going to lean towards starting with the Cruncher. And the reason being is if we get Fortress off of it, which we're most likely to get it since we're playing 2, we can pull off the rank 9 combo. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And since if Cruncher is going to be met with any sort of interruption, our turn is going to be rather rough. We are going to, when we normal summon Cruncher, chain block it with that copy of Daracrane. So it'll be chain link 1 Cruncher, chain link 2 Daracrane. And we'll go ahead and activate its effect here. And we're going to reveal 1, and they're both together there. That's very convenient. And we're going to reveal Dozer. So the reason I'm revealing Dozer as well, because if we don't get Fortress, we have a play. And that play is just to do the standard play by tripping off the Cruncher off of the Dozer. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle these up here. I'll grab a dice here to roll as well, just to keep things random. We'll grab a dice. We'll go with this red one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll roll it right here. We rolled a 1, so we get this one. And we get Fortress to our hand, which obviously was the most likely outcome. But you never know. We'll get that one of Dozer to our hand at some point. So put that over there. So now from this point, we're going to use Fortress pitching itself and Harvester to then summon it out of the grave. We're now going to link Fortress and Cruncher for the Ballista, and we're going to activate Ballista's effect here to go ahead and search Ancient Gearbox. We're going to need Ancient Gearbox, basically use as discard fodder for our fortress that we have in grave. So we're going to add box, and we're going to activate box's effect when it's added from our deck or graveyard to your hand. We can add, except by drawing, we can add a Earth Machine with 500 attack and or defense. So we're going to add a copy of Trencher here. Normally we add Tunneler, but for this specific rank 9 combo, we want to add Trencher at this particular point. And the rank 9 combo, I should also preface, can be done by opening Cruncher with Fortress, or just opening Redeployment with obviously any discard. But we opened the slightly more resource heavy version because we had to see 2 cards, but it's still the same thing at the end of the day. So once we add these, we're going to use Fortress here. But one thing I want to mention first, if they end up hand trapping the Ballista, which is likely, the play from there would be then to just summon out the Bullet, make number 81, and unfortunately we would just have to pass there. There's really not much else we could do. I mean, another thing we could do is essentially pitch the Bullet for the Fortress and leave that on the field, and then link these for a double-headed Anger Knuckle. That's technically a move as well. It's really up to you at that point. But what we're going to do from here is, continuing on in the combo, we're going to pitch Box and Trencher to summon out Fortress one more time. And then we're going to use Trencher in the grave, banishing itself to summon this back. And then we'll use Harvester's effect on summon here to get a Brutal Dozer from our deck to our hand, if we haven't gotten one yet. And now we're going to use Harvester's other effect at this point to target another Earth Machine and make its level the combined levels of both it and the other monster that we target. So in this case, we're going to target Fortress to become level 9. And we're going to go right into True King of all Calamities. Just kidding. We're going into the next best thing, Phantom Fortress Ender Blathier. And importantly here, we're going to detach a Fortress because we need this in the grave to be able to use again later on. So we're going to banish one random card from their hand. Now, it doesn't have to be Ender Blathier. You can make any rank 9 here. Ender Blathier is preferred, obviously, because ripping a card isn't bad, but it gives us a chance to detach Fortress, and we need to detach Fortress because we're going to need it in the grave to get the Bullet out of our hand and in play. Because as it stands, we're not able to summon Bullet at this point because we have a non-Earth Machine on the field. So we can't summon this from our hand at this point. So they're down 1 card at this point, and that's all they're really going to be down because we can't rip any more cards here. But that's not such a big issue. But now we're going to use Dozer in hand, tributing off the Ballista, and then we'll use Dozer's effect once it hits the board to go ahead and get access to the Tunneler, which we have not summoned yet. And now after we resolve Brutal Dozer, we are locked into Earth Machines. And from here, we're going to go into the best rank 5, which is Infinitrek Riverstormer. We'll activate its effect now, detaching Tunneler here importantly. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you don't detach Tunneler, because you'll be linking off the Stormer anyways. But now, here's an interesting thing too. Normally at this point, if we don't already have it, we're grabbing Bullet here. But since we already have Bullet, we can sort of, you know, get an extra card to work with here. And that card I'm going to grab is, we could grab Scrap Recycler as a follow-up for next turn, or we could grab Harvester as a follow-up for next turn. Or, since we don't have access to it yet at this point, we can just go ahead and send the Machina Citadel to our graveyard. Because if we don't draw Overdrive, which is a possibility, we have it already set up in our grave, Citadel. And we can have that as an interruption going into the next turn. So now we're going to link into our first copy of Goliath. And once we do that, we're going to use the Fortress in the grave, pitching this off to summon back the Fortress. And then we're going to use Riverstormer, sending off the Goliath to summon itself back. And then we're going to link the Stormer right into a second copy of Goliath. And the main reason we're doing that is just to get extra names in the graveyard to be able to use for Tunneler. And then we're going to link into Anger Knuckle. Anger Knuckle is usually the last link you make in most combo lines. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and use Tunneler in the grave. And we're going to do some recycling here of the both Goliaths in the extra deck. Copy of Ballista, and here I usually like to put back both Box and Captain Crunch to the extra deck. Box specifically, so next turn, if we need to make Ballista, we can make him and have a target in deck to be able to search. So now this is where we're really trying to draw into our traps / hand traps, urgent schedule at this point to make our field that we have right now even better. So we'll just shuffle the deck up a little bit here. Have a nice little split down the center, and we draw into EMR and Brutal Dozer. So we already have an Ash in hand too, which is really nice. Now at this point, we're going to go ahead and use Double-Headed Anger Knuckle, and we're going to pitch the Brutal Dozer off, and we're going to special summon Bullet Train. And it doesn't matter that we pitch the Brutal Dozer, because we're going to be able to add back in the end phase anyways off of Bullet. And because we are going to detach it here, but we're going to make number 81 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora. So from here, we're going to just set EMR. End phase, we're going to add one back off of Brutal Dozer, off of, well, first, let me do this correctly. End phase, we're going to use number 81 to target itself. Detaching Bullet Train importantly, then end phase will proc the effect of Bullet Train to add back Brutal Dozer, so we have a follow-up of some sort. And we already have Citadel engraved. So as it stands, we have 1, 2, 3 forms of interruption, and 4 if you count the Ash. So let's go ahead and split the deck here and draw into another hand. Third hand of the video, we draw Ghost Bell, Machina Metal Cruncher, Urgent Schedule, Derricrane, and Bullet Train. These 2 cards, man. What are these draws tonight? Alright, so first and foremost, we're easily starting with Cruncher, and since our hand is kind of fragile, we're going to use the Derricrane to chain block. So again, one of the more reasons why I think Derricrane is an incredible card is because of this specific interaction right here, and perhaps why maining more than one copy is worthwhile. So we're going to go ahead and reveal Triple Dozer here. I'm not going to waste time just revealing 3 of them, but we're going to grab a Dozer off of this because we can't do the rank 9 combos at stance, so we don't have access to Fortress, and we also don't have access to Harvester on top of that, so we're just going to add Dozer. Dozer's going to tribute this for cost, summon itself from the hand, and here we're going to summon the Trencher from the deck. Now, last combo we summoned Tunneler from the deck. Tunneler needed to be summoned at that particular point, but now we're always going to summon Trencher if we're just resolving just Dozer after resolving like a Harvester or a Cruncher or whatever it may be. Always want to go for the Trencher. Because now what we're going to do is search here. We already have Bullet Train in hand. So what I'm going to grab here is just like, we could grab a copy of Fortress. Wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, so here I'm just going to actually just add Fortress just to have as an extra extender here, depending on what we draw off of our Tunneler later on. You could also just send Citadel here as well, just to have a guaranteed Citadel setup, so you can just easily dump Citadel to the graveyard right now, but I'm going to just do something a little different as opposed to the previous turn. And I guess one of the main reasons why is because we opened Urgent Schedule, so we have technically our Citadel access right there. So now we're going to go for Goliath, and we're going to use Trencher Engraved now to bring back the Dozer. You don't have to do the Trencher yet here, since at that point, if we didn't open the Bullet, we would have searched it, and we could just summon Bullet and link Goliath and Bullet for Ballista. That's an option you can do, or you could do what I'm doing now, which is to use Trencher to summon out Goliath, and then link both of these Goliaths for a Ballista. That's one thing that you could do. And here we're going to add Box, and Box is going to add Tunneler via its own effect. Just a quick split of the deck there, just like the opponent would do. Now what we're going to do is use Tunneler, tributing off the Ballista, and then linking off the Tunneler into another copy of Goliath. And now we're going to summon Bullet, and linking the last Goliath and the Bullet into Knuckle. A lot of linking there. Might seem pointless, but we're just fueling our Pot of Avarice. We're going to put back the 4 links and a copy of Cruncher into the deck. Just like that. And we'll draw 2 cards here. Remember, if they try to DD Crow, the Tunneler still resolves because it doesn't have to shuffle all 5 back into the deck to be able to resolve. It is not worded like Pot of Avarice, as I mentioned in the deck profile. So we'll just go ahead and split the deck there, and we'll draw into 1 and 2. We draw into EMR, or not EMR, Ghost Bell and Heavy Forward. So here, what we're going to do is pitch Box to summon back the Bullet, and we're just going to go ahead and make a rank 10. And that is going to be Gustav Max, just like that. And from here, we could continue by playing Heavy Forward to search out a Harvester for next turn, but we might as well just save the Heavy Forward for next turn, period. And we also have Fortress as a really good follow-up card as well that we were basically able to search for free during our turn since we already opened Bullet. But here we're going to set the Heavy, or not the Heavy Forward, set the Urgent Schedule end phase. We'll use number 81, adding back the Dozer. Or since we already have Heavy Forward, we could just add back the box here, so that during our opponent's turn, we can use at our earliest convenience, use Knuckle, pitching Ancient Gearbox to summon back Bullet Train. Now what will happen is if the bullet hits the graveyard at any point during the end phase, we can add back the box, triggering box to add a copy of Anchor Drill. So we have the option to go for a rank 8 play at the start of our turn. And also, I guess technically another thing you could do, instead of doing that route, right, after you, well, let me add the box back to my hand. One other thing you could do technically is if you really wanted to get Citadel into play, which is something you should probably be trying to do, you could use Urgent Schedule as at your earliest convenience to go ahead and summon out, let's say, Harvester here, since we have access to a Trencher via Heavy Forward and the Citadel. And then you could use Citadel use Knuckle to send off the Citadel to bring out the Bullet Train. Because Citadel's effects on field are negated via Urgent Schedule. So you can just use Knuckle to clear them off the field to get the bullet onto the board, and then you get to keep the box in hand to use as discard fodder for Fortress next turn if you want. And we have Bell to protect our Citadel too, which is really nice. And Bell is just a really crazy card in general. And we also have a pop here and a protection for our Knuckle to make sure that it can go through to get Citadel in play. So that's one of the reasons why this card sort of acts as like a pseudo Machina Overdrive, just giving us direct access to Citadel. It might not be on the field, or when it gets on the field, it might be negated, but of course we do have methods to get it to the graveyard to be able to be live. Alright, so that's it for that test hand. I'm going to shuffle and do another one. Alright, deck has been shuffled pretty good. Let's go ahead and draw into the next test hand here and see what we are capable of doing. There's Redeployment, Anchor Drill, Infinitrack, Trencher, Infinitrack, Trencher, and Machina Overdrive making its first appearance in the video. So yeah, with this particular hand, I am just going to start with the Redeployment, pitching a copy of Trencher. Now, if this gets ashed, it's pretty unfortunate. The best thing to do from there would be to go Anchor Drill, summon this out, and then we could link both of these into Goliaths, and then linking both of those into Ballista. Ballista add box and Tunneler. Tunneler tributes away the Ballista, linking the Ballista away for another Goliath, and then trying to resolve, if we can, Tunneler. But that is what we would do if we were met with an interruption there. But let's say we aren't. Now we're just going to go ahead and resolve the redeployment. And we're going to add Fortress and Cruncher. And this is going to net us basically that rank 9 combo. We're going to normal the Cruncher and reveal 3 Harvester here instead of revealing the Fortresses or the Dozer. And of course, we'll just get this guaranteed to our hand. We'll pitch Fortress and Harvester together to summon back Fortress. And then we'll link these two to go into Ballista. Now, we already have Trencher in hand. So we're just going to add Box, and we're actually not going to use Box's effect here because we don't want to add Tunneler because we need that to summon off of Dozer. I mean, I guess technically we could summon a Harvester and then tribute the Harvester for the Tunneler, but that's just more unnecessary step. So we're just going to add Ancient Gearbox, and we're not going to use its effect. We already have a Trencher in grave, so we're just going to banish Trencher to summon out the Harvester. Harvester will activate its effect here to search Dozer, and because we need the Dozer to be able to resolve here now. And we already have another Trencher in hand. If we didn't have a Trencher, we'd just search the Trencher off the box, but we're going to pitch both of these to summon this out. So just doing things in slightly different order. And now we're going to go ahead and use the level manipulation effect to go ahead into the Enter Blathnir, or the 9 Lives Cat, or the Sacred Tree Beast. The only reason I don't go to Sacred Tree Beast is because you have no way to detach turn 1. If there was a way to detach, it'd be really good. And I guess one way you could do it is if you already had like another fortress in hand. I guess that would be technically a way you can make Sacred Tree Beast and get away with it. But they're now down a card. What we're going to do here is tribute off the Ballista for the Dozer, and we're going to go get the last remaining level 5 Infinitrack out of the deck, which is Tunneler. And this time around, we didn't actually open any of the level 10 guys. We didn't open Bullet or Derek Crane, so what are we going to go ahead and get off of our Stormer? We're going to go ahead and get a copy of Bullet, because we need that key extender and to get our engine going to add things back in the end phase. So we're going to add Bullet there, and we're going to link this off into a Goliath. We're going to pitch the Bullet to get Fortress out onto the field, and then we're going to use Stormer, sending this off, and then we're going to bring Stormer back, and then we're just going to link that Stormer right into a Goliath, and then we're just going to link these into a double-headed Anger Knuckle, just like that. Now, this is where we go ahead and use the Tunneler in the grave, banishing itself, targeting all of our links. Ancient Gearbox and Machina Metal Cruncher tends to be the go-to cards I like to put back off this particular combo, but of course, you'll be in some situations where maybe putting back other things is maybe more beneficial. Let's go ahead and see what we can draw into here now that the deck is pretty thinned. We are, quite a few cards into the deck. And to be exact, we are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards deep. So we're at a 30-card deck right now. Let's see what we can draw into. We draw into a Heavy Forward and a Machina Overdrive, another copy of Overdrive. That's completely fine. This will be a nice discard fodder for double-headed Anger Knuckle at some point. Help us recycle more resources. So from here, we are just going to set Overdrive. We could set the Overdrive other one, but I don't want to lose both of them until something like Lightning Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster. Rather just keep one in hand. And then end phase, we can use Bullet to add back the Dozer to our hand. And that pretty much does it for our turn. During their turn, at our earliest convenience, as always, we're going to use Knuckle to tribute itself to bring out Bullet. And then as soon as we feel threatened, we can use Overdrive, targeting this, summoning out Citadel from the deck, and threaten a 3k board wipe. And we also get our end phase add back off of Bullet, just like that. And again, if the Ender Blathinger survives the turn, we get to banish another card from their field, non-targeting, send that off to destroy anything 3k and under. And we also have Overdrive in the grave at the start of the next turn to be able to recycle both of these cards back to the deck and draw a card, but we'd probably want to wait till we use the Trencher first to get both of the Trenchers and the Tunnelers back into the deck. So yeah, pretty solid hand there. Very, very solid hand. We'll go ahead and do one more random test hand, and I'll show you guys a combo where if you open Ancient Gearbox, how you can put it back into the deck and still resolve its effect all in one turn. So we're going to shuffle up here one more time, and we'll get into another test hand. Okay, so for this particular hand, it's pretty self-explanatory what we're going to start with first, and that is the Heavy Forward, and we're going to go ahead and grab Harvester immediately. Of course, if you're playing against somebody that likes to frame one Ash on whatever you do, it's not the end of the world, because you can still use Drill to follow up into Trencher, linking both of those into Goliath, then both of those into Ballista, add Box and Tunneler, and basically just try to resolve your Tunneler there on draw into more traps or extenders. But let's say they don't have the hand trap here. We're just going to add Harvester. Now, I know it's not realistic to say, though, they just never have a hand trap. That's not the point of these videos. Sometimes I show how to play through hand traps, but basically the point of these videos is just to show you how random hands should and can be played out in a controlled situation like this. And I will mention, of course, though, what to do if, hand traps are played, as I just did. But what we're going to do now is normal summon Drill, activating its effect to bring out Harvester. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's actually some cool plays you can do with Drill and Harvester together, one mainly being the Beatrice play, which I'm not going to... which can be really, really helpful games 2 and 3, especially if you're siding something like Nail Shaddoll Ariel, because you can use that to basically DD Crow 3 on your opponent's turn, or you can use it to recover from DD Crow, or Ariel, by sending something like Overdrive directly to the grave to counteract it. So we're going to go drill into Harvester, and the nice thing with Ash being one of the most common hand traps, the drill is most likely to go through. And if it doesn't, let's say it's met with something like Gamma, they just made your Urgent Schedule live if you happen to draw it. So it's not the end of the world there either. If they Veil or Impermit, it's not the end of the world either. Of course, you could always just start with Harvester though, but I'm mainly just doing this because I want to show a cool play that can be made by going for Beatrice. So now that we've added Dozer to the hand, we're going to use Harvester on Drill to make them both level 6. And we're going to summon out a Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal. And we're going to use her effect to detach the Drill. And we're going to send a copy of Trencher from our deck to the grave, just like that. And or you can even send like a Fortress if you already had like extra fodder in hand. Like if we didn't have just Dozer and Trencher, if we had like Bullet in hand or something, we could have sent like Fortress as well, which is cool. Or if your hand's really busted, you know, you could just send another Overdrive to the grave. But at this point, we're going to use Trencher and Grave to bring back the Drill, and then we're going to tribute the Drill for Brutal Dozer, activating its effect. And obviously here we're not going to summon Trencher since we already use it. We're just going to summon Tunneler like we do in sort of like the rank 9 combo. And now we're going to go ahead and overlay into Infinitrack River Stormer here, and we're going to activate its effect to be able to add or send an Earth Machine. We could either grab something like Fortress, which would be nice if we always have the extra fodder in our hand to be able to summon it here. But what I'm going to actually add is just Daracrane, and I would add Bullet, but we can't actually summon Bullet at the moment because we have a non-Earth Machine on our field. So we're just going to add Daracrane here, and it's going to allow us to basically do the same old song and dance. We're going to link Stormer into Goliath and trigger Daracrane on that summon. Then we'll use Stormer to send off Goliath and not use Goliath's effect, so we can just link into another Goliath, and then link both the Daracrane and the Goliath into Bullet. And we're going to activate, or not Bullet, but into Ballista rather, and we'll activate Ballista's effect. Now, one interesting thing with this hand too is we are out of box targets at this point. So we're just going to add Ancient Gearbox to our hand and not be able to use its effect, unfortunately. But it's not a huge deal. We can still use Trencher's effect in hand since we haven't done that yet to tribute off the Ballista. Then we can link away the Trencher into Goliath just like that. And now here we're just going to go ahead and use the Tunneler Engrave to go ahead and recycle 5. We're going to put back Ballista, Goliath, and Goliath. We'll put back the Drill, and we could also put back, let's see here, we could also put back the Daracrane since we don't really need that in our graveyard at the moment. And we can see what we can get out of our draw 2 here. And let's split the deck. Let's see what we get. We get a copy of Cruncher and a copy of Redeployment. Not a really bad draw there, to be honest. We could actually just use that right now to go ahead and grab a copy of Fortress and a copy of Citadel. That way we can just put Fortress on the board with Citadel and Grave, and not only can we do that, but we can link both the Goliath and the Fortress into a copy of Anger Knuckle to have that card set up onto the board, and we can set both Overdrive and EMR just like that. And we have a Beatrice in play too, which is kind of nice to be able to get us access to any extender we might need in the graveyard. Now, I'm not 100% sold on Beatrice in the extra deck. Like, that's some pretty cool stuff you can do with it, and I'm sure there are other plays as well. The main draw behind it for me is to be able to, in games 2 and 3, again, be able to send Citadel to the grave as sort of a way to recover from some decks that are banishing a lot of stuff out of your grave, whether it be with DD Crow, Hikaro, or Ariel, the Shaddoll monster. But I'm kind of leaning on maybe possibly cutting it. I know Gaia the Dragon Charger is like the rank 6 some people are playing to be able to slap on top of Stormer. That's a potential option. Or playing maybe a second Zeus if you can afford it. I only have one at the moment, and I'm not really looking to pick up another. Or you could play number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. Or maybe something like the BLS Link if you have that one extra deck slot open. or Sacred Tree Beast. But, you know, I just wanted to showcase the Beatrice play there because I think it's kind of cool. So now we're going to go ahead and show you guys, not another test hand, but I want to run through the Ancient Gearbox combo really quick. Okay, so for this specific example, we're going to start with Harvester and Ancient Gearbox. Obviously, opening Ancient Gearbox kind of sucks. It's basically the Garnet of the deck. But if you open it with Harvester or Heavy Forward or even the Metal Cruncher, it's not such a big issue. So we're going to normal Harvester to add Brutal Dozer. Importantly here, if you do start with the Harvester, you are going to want to link the Harvester into a Goliath first just to get extra fodder into the grave. Now we're going to use Brutal Dozer to tribute off the Goliath to summon out the Tunneler. Now from here, we're going to link both, or not link rather, but Ixies into River Stormer, activating its effect, attaching the Tunneler to grab a copy of Bullet Train. Now here, we're just going to link that River Stormer into Goliath, and then we're going to summon Bullet, linking both Goliath and Bullet into a copy of Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. Now at this point, we're going to use Knuckle to pitch the box to the grave to be able to summon back Bullet Express. Now we're going to use Stormer in the grave, sending off the Knuckle to summon itself back in defense. Now from here, we're going to use the effect of Tunneler, putting back Knuckle, both copies of Goliath, Gearbox, and Harvester, or you could leave the Dozer in grave if you want. But we're going to leave just the Dozer, and we're going to shuffle those back, and we're going to draw 2. And see what we can get. Ideally, we don't draw a box again. That would be kind of really, really unlucky. So let's shuffle the deck, split it in half. We draw Overdrive and Brutal Dozer. So now at this point, we're going to link into, where is it? It's not more Goliaths, but we're going to link into Ballista. Ballista's effect will activate, and we're going to be able to search Ancient Gearbox and Trencher here. And now we're going to be able to use Trencher to tribute off the Ballista, and then we'll link the Trencher off into another Goliath. And then we're going to use Trencher in grave, since we haven't used Trencher this turn, to bring out the Brutal Dozer. And then we can link the Goliath and the Dozer into a copy of Anger Knuckle, set the Overdrive that we drew, and during the end phase, we get to add back the Dozer to our hand, or we could add back the Ballista since we already have a Dozer. Really up to you what you want to do there. So we're basically able to do the combo with the box in hand, put it back into the deck mid-combo, and use it accordingly off of Ballista. So that's going to do it for this test hand / combo video. There is another combo you can do to search Cycle Reader. But I'm not going to waste my time showing you guys that combo since Aerosol TCG already has a perfectly good video on his channel to show you guys how you can search Cycle Reader in this deck fairly easy with a card called Gear Gigant X. So I'll leave a link to that video down in the description. He's the reason I started playing this deck after all. So go check out that video and toss him a sub if you haven't. So I hope you guys were able to learn something from this video, showing you guys just how the deck is played in general, and my sort of thoughts on the deck going forward. Some changes I'm looking to make, possibly adding a second drill, maybe cutting Beatrice. I don't know. Check out the streams if you want to see me play this deck some more. And yeah, as always, Winter Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe already if you haven't. And of course, a special thanks goes to all of our channel members here supporting this channel. And a special thanks goes to our Divine Level channel members, Zors, Cadillacs84, and Remtrox H. Thank you guys so much for your continued and very generous support of the channel.